Hey crafty friends, it's Katya. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to show you how to take two different products and make your own DIY embossing butter or glitter paste in any color that you want. So the products that I'm showing you here that you're going to want to use are gloss heavy gels, or you're going to use a matte one, which I'll show you next. This one is the brand Liquitex, and basically the gel consistencies for these mediums are really heavy and they're very thick like a paste. So you're going to be looking for that. This brand here is Golden, and the other one is the Gloss, and it is by Liquitex. So I'd like to give a special shout out to Cindy Lynn of My Inky Fingers on YouTube. I learned this from her channel, and she goes through a very in-depth overview of how to mix and all that stuff. So I'll give you a brief overview on my channel here using some of these beautiful mica powders here. These are shimmer ones, and you can use any mica powder that you have, but these are great because you get quite a bit for a small amount of money, and you can also use some dye inks as well. So you want to make sure that you are going to be using any type of ink or re-inker that is water-based. And so things like dye ink, I'm using these Catherine Pooler inks here, but any type of like distress oxide ink would work, dye inks would work, your ink pads would work. These heavy gels are water-based. They are not supposed to be mixed with alcohol. So if you have alcohol inks, it actually turns it into a different consistency. But if you check out Cindy Lynn's channel, you'll see she did a little demo on that. So it might be a look you're going for, but typically you want to stick to water-based re-inkers and ink. So it doesn't really matter if you're using two different brands. So for example, I'm going to be using and demoing the gloss gel by Liquitex, and this is the one that has a gloss consistency when it's completely dry. And I'm going to be using this ink here from Catherine Pooler, and you really only need like a couple of drops, so a little ink goes a very long way, as you'll see here in a second. And then I decided maybe I just didn't want that much to waste. But what I love about this is you can make just the amount that you need when you're stenciling a project or that sort of thing. And I won't be stenciling on this particular video. This is just a demo to show you how well and wonderful this stuff is. But it's basically to show you how to mix it and how very little ink you need. So I'm going to show you just a couple of drops here is all it takes, and you will get a beautiful consistency, and the mixing of this product is just amazing. So you can use this on stencils, you can use it you could probably even make your own drops with it if you wanted to squeeze it into a bottle, although that might be a little bit cumbersome to figure out. But look at how beautifully this mixes up, and just very, very little. So right now as I'm mixing it, you'll see part of it that looks sort of milky, but just know that when this dries, it dries to a very glossy shine and completely clear, and only leaves behind the color that you use. Now throughout this video I'm going to be showing you different things you can add, like this glitter here, but if you don't want to go out and purchase like the mica powders or anything like that, you don't want to make that investment, you could actually even use things like Ranger Perfect Pearls in this as well, to get different shimmery looks with your gel powder or gel gloss medium. So stick around and I'll show you when I add the mica powder that I have on hand too. And one of the biggest reasons I like using these two jars of the product is because they stay consistently nice. So like this gloss that I've had it in my stash for, I want to say, going on 3 years, and it's not dried out or anything. So I really like it because it's a small jar, and I already have the mica powders and I already have the inks, and I can just make any custom color that I want at any time. And I don't have to have a lot of space in my craft room area because I have basically just a wall and my craft desk. So I don't have a lot of room to store a bunch of jars of different colors of embossing butters, although I would like to. But this just gives me another way to have that same look whenever I want to use it, and I don't have to have a lot of space to store all of those products. So as you can see, this gloss gel medium you can put on in really thick layers, and I did that on for a reason, to show you how nicely it's going to dry. But it also cleans up really, really well with isopropyl alcohol, so you can use alcohol to clean it up. And if you're really quick before it dries, you can do it definitely with a baby wipe. But if it gets stuck on there, no worries, you can just clean it up with rubbing alcohol. So pull out your re-inkers and do that and mix with this product. You can also use Pearl X, those Pearl X powders if you have those. And if you have super concentrated watercolor, you can use that too. So try those. So this is the one product that is the matte in the gel that is in the matte finish. So when this dries, you'll see that it has a completely different finish, and you can actually mix the two like Cindy Lynn did on her channel. You can mix both the gloss and the matte to get a semi-gloss, which is kind of cool. So in this one I'm going to show you, I'm going to add a few drops of this particular re-inker. I think I put 3 drops in here. That's really all it takes for such a small amount. And then I'm just going to mix the two here. But what's really cool, and you can see that this is particularly wet right now, and so it looks kind of glossy, but when this dries, I'm going to show it to you at the end of this video. When this dries, it has a completely different finish than the gloss does. Also, what I love about this is that I can mix any color that I want. So say I want to mix a green with a white glitter, I can do that. Or say I want to mix a pink with a different shimmer powder, I can do that too. And I'll show you here in a minute that you can actually color this product specifically just with the mica powders as well too, or you can mix them both together. There are so many different things, and this is so versatile. But look at how thick I'm putting this on here. This is so perfect because when this dries, it will dry just as you see it there, but it won't have that shine. So this one here again is the Gloss Heavy Gel, and like I said, I've had this one in my stash, and when I found Cindy Lynn did it on her channel, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got this product in hand, I can do this on my own. So anyway, here I'm taking a paintbrush to show you that you can actually use a paintbrush, and you want to work really quickly because this stuff, when it dries, it's just like any other embossing paste or gel. It dries really, really hard and quickly if you put it on in thin layers. So all I'm doing here, and I'm sorry that I'm off camera a little bit, all I'm doing here is putting a scrap piece of white paper and brushing it on, and I'm going to show you what I'll do with that in just a minute. So I'm going to continue to put some more of that Gloss Heavy Gel on it, and then I'm going to set it aside to dry. And just like other gels out on the market, when this is completely clear, you will know that it's dry and ready to go. Okay, in this next example, I'm going to be using some of this Arteza mica powder with the heavy gel. And this stuff is so awesome because you can, like I said, you can mix it with just with re-inkers, or you can do mica, or you can add mica and the re-inkers or watercolors if you want. I was just holding up that little piece of paper that had the brushed product on that paper to show you that it had dried. But I'm going to be adding a little bit of the gloss gel medium again, and again, a little bit goes a very long way. And you'll see this part can get a little bit messy, but when you're doing stenciling with paste and everything, it's all messy, right? And that's kind of the joy of creating here. And in this part, I do realize that I added a little bit too much mica powder, so you might want to use a little spoon or maybe even a little popsicle stick to get some of the product out rather than pour it like I did, because you'll see that I put a little bit more than I wanted in here, but that's okay. It still turns out, and it's just such a gorgeous color. Rose gold is a favorite. So you'll see this powder go flying when I start to mix it and everything, but I wanted to let you know that if you're interested in any of the products that I'm showing you here on my channel, please check out the description links below. I will have as many of them posted as I can. And I will tell you, I am certainly not a chemist, but here's my thinking of why I think these gels might stay fluid in the jars a little bit longer than the ones that already have product. This is just my thinking, but part of me wonders if the properties in either some of the dye inks or the powders that we use might contribute to the drying out of products that we have in those jars. Like I had to throw a couple of jars out because I couldn't use them. I don't know if they can be reconstituted with water, but what I like about this is that anytime I want a specific color, like if I'm working with a Catherine Pooler ink, I just get out my ink pad and I'm good to go. And if you don't have re-inkers, just try to take your ink pad and smoosh it down on your worktop surface and then add the product directly to that and start mixing. It's the same deal. So what I'm demonstrating here is with my finger, I'm just wiping that product all down the side of the card here. And the reason I'm doing that is to show you that you can actually just make a custom piece of colored cardstock that has sort of a metallic sheen, because this will dry really glossy. And look at that beautiful rose gold color. You can dry it, and you can also stencil it and get a really thick application with it as well. Now, if you stuck around with me this long in the video, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you stopping by. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you might consider giving me a thumbs up on this particular video if you like DIYs, and also if you would consider subscribing if you're new here. So here's that piece of cardstock that's completely dry now. On the right side there, you can see that I smooshed it with my finger so it's nice and flat. And on that center part, you see that there's a lot of dimension to that paste, and it dries like that. So it's really nice. And I forgot to mention that it's really flexible. So here is the dried one, and it's hard to see because it's clear on white. So, but that is dry. That's the one I did with the paintbrush. This is the gloss one, and it's completely dry, except not fully dry. I didn't let it dry overnight, so you'll see my fingernail can make a dent in it, but when I touch it, there's nothing on my finger, and it is completely dry. Now here is the matte one. Take a look at the difference in the finish. So this one has a matte look, and then again, here's the gloss with the glitter, but look at the difference in the sheen. Now again, don't forget, you can take the matte one on the left and take the shiny one on the right, the glossy one, mix those together to get a satin one. Now here I'm going to take this piece that I did with the paintbrush, and remember this is just the clear one that I spread with the paintbrush, and I'm actually going to just take some heat activated foil, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to use this gloss as a means to do some foiling. Now I'm only using my little mini craft iron here so that I can demo this to show you what it's like to use heat, because my laminator is too big to fit into the monitor here. So don't feel like you have to go run out and buy this little mini iron. Just a source of heat is what you need, and most people use a laminator, so you can use a laminator to do this. But I wanted to show you how cool this product is. You can lift off any heat activated foil, and check that out. I did a very thin layer, but imagine if you do something much thicker, which I'll show you in just a second. But basically you can add this product directly to your stencil projects, and you can foil things very easily with this just by using a source of heat. Now, like I said, you don't need to use this little mini iron, but for those of you who may go, hey, I really want that little iron, I don't know if they still sell this online. I got this in a craft store years ago, and I've had it in my stash. It's perfect for little projects just like this. I'll see if I can find one for you, and if I can, I'll link it in the description box below. So this example is with using a paintbrush, and I just use really light, thin strokes, but imagine if you had something thicker. So let me show you what we can do here. I'm going to sacrifice this piece of an example here, and I'm going to put some foil on top of it, and we are going to put that little iron on it, and I'll show you how gorgeous this turns out. So I'm just going to apply my iron here. I'm going directly on the foil, but you might want to use a piece of parchment paper so you don't make any scratches. This is just for demo purposes, but when you melt all of that product onto the foil and then you lift it off, you're going to get this really gorgeous result, and I was pretty excited to see this because this is just kind of like transfer duo gel, but it does so much more, and check it out. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous shine. I'm so excited about this discovery. Now, I always get confused about the different types of foil to use with which medium, but basically any type of duo gel foil that you're going to use with this product too. And the reason I'm showing you this right here is because when I purchased one of the matte medium gels, it came wrapped to me just like this with this black tape, and I thought, well, I'm going to just do that with the Liquitex heavy gloss gel that I have too. And I think what that does is it helps keep out all of the air from your product. And I have had this Liquitex here for, I want to say, going on 3 or 4 years now, and it's still super soft and supple, but now I'm going to have that extra protection by having those 2 pieces of tape around the lids. So again, think about these 2 products. They are small in size. They're about 8 fluid ounces each, but a little goes a long way, and you can get custom colors. Here I'm showing you the one that is the matte finish, so you can get a closer look. This one here is the glossy one, and look how beautiful that shine is. That is just with a little bit of glitter. And then again, try mixing the 2 together to see if you can get a completely different consistency and sheen based on the project that you're working on. And then here is the foiled one again. I so love that. Isn't that just beautiful? So if you are a crafter like me and you're working in a very small space and don't have room for a ton of products, this might be another option for you to go with having two small jars and then mixing custom colors whenever you need them. So here's a close-up of the products once they were completely dry. I hope this was helpful to you, and if you like it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and perhaps share this video with another friend. Until I see you again, I hope you have a great crafty day. Here are a couple of videos that you might like. Thanks again for stopping by, and ciao for now.